All right, good morning, guys. Right now it's 11:34 Eastern Time on Saturday. I'm back here in the USA, and we're ready to give you content that's saltier than drinking ocean water, but more intoxicating than your tall glass of whiskey that will give you chest hairs. So if you're trying to stay thin, even when you're pregnant, to placate your husband because he hates fat people, you are in luck because I have some juicy morsels of information that will surely wake you up and get your appetite going because I love you guys and that's what Jesus taught me. But we're going to shake it up and shake it up like a salt shaker. So the first thing, as you can see, is that there's quite a bit of stock talk that we're going to be going over. And what I'm going to do is actually combine the subjects from the TraveLog and the cTheories. And in itself, it's not going to be that much of the content itself, but really just to let you know that the traveling was really safe. And in the process, I've actually bypassed the situation with a lot of the delayed flights with Spirit Airlines. However, when I was traveling, my second flight to Boston ended up leaving a little bit later. However, I did arrive at the right time. So just kind of keep that in mind. And on top of that, one of the strange things that I heard while I was on the plane was that apparently if you don't wear a mask, it's a criminal offense or it will be charged as a criminal offense. Now, I don't know how much of that is true. That was something that the captain made an announcement of. But one of the great surprises when I did land in the USA or in Boston or actually in New Bedford was that a lot of places people weren't wearing masks, and it was kind of just a relief. Since I've been gone for about 2 months, or actually it was almost exactly 2 months, a lot of public places you actually had to wear masks. So strangely enough, I'm wearing a mask right now during this video, but hey, that's neither here nor there. But what I really want to do is get into the topics that I wasn't able to talk about since I was in transit from Sunday to Monday. And if those of you guys who know me, I'm not a good sleeper, and especially if I take a red eye, and with the airline like Spirit, where the seats aren't so comfortable, I didn't get much sleep along the way. So I'm still kind of recovering. I actually didn't sleep last night. I took a little nap this morning, so it actually wrote up the script that I was wanting to talk about and thought about over the course of the last couple of weeks. But because I was finishing up a lot of activities prior to me leaving Ecuador, I wasn't able to have the chance to record the video. But on top of that, I wasn't able to actually upload anything. So on the other channels that I have, I wasn't able to do any of that. So luckily, back in the USA, and we should be back on schedule, but a different schedule this time. Because a lot of the content that I will be posting on this channel will have to deal with kind of the side hustle that I do, which essentially the not financial advice. I want to be able to get this information out to everybody in an appropriate amount of time. So because the show was originally scheduled to be live at 6 at night on Monday, I'm going to switch that up and actually going to try to get the video out by the weekend or during the weekend time frame so that as we roll into Monday, we have a large amount of information that we can use for the week that maybe will help us in our investing journey. So let's get right into that. So the first one that I want to talk about here is NWBO. And if any of you have been following this channel, you know that Cruz and I have actually talked about this stock quite a bit. And we're not going to go into heavy detail because we've talked about it in previous shows, especially since I took over this channel more specifically. But one of the things that I want to talk about is some of the activity that's occurred over the course of a month or actually even a couple of months, where one of the things that I wanted to point out as we scroll here on Yahoo Finance is kind of just my typical go-to real quick visuals on what's going on with the company. And as you can see, the market cap is a little over $1 billion, at a $1.30 price. Now, keep in mind, the price actually dropped as far down as $1.05. And a key thing to point out here, and I've mentioned before, there are a lot of key factors that will contribute to this stock price going up. And in a strange kind of coincidence, in the course of this week, and you have to excuse the sound in the background because I have the door open. It's actually pretty hot. But one of the major catalysts for this particular stock over the course of time, since I've been investing in it for several years, is that whenever there's a piece of news that helps kind of transition, the stock to go up, and this is no different. However, it's been on a pretty heavy downward spiral, which was very unfortunate, and it made a huge spike up, nearly 30% going into Friday. So again, not financial advice, but something to keep an eye on as we proceed forward is a catalyst on some good news that should be turning up because they're way overdue. Typically, you have about 2 to 3 months before they bring out some positive news. Obviously, if something negative is going, comes out, we're really not going to be in a very good place with this company. But it has been on a downward spiral, and if you've looked at any of the message boards, there's been a lot of speculation that's been going on with some of the things that we talked about in previous times. One of which, Linda Powers, was originally from Enron. So if you guys are familiar with the Enron saga with Martha Stewart, that's going to be one of those things where people start bringing up those types of stories. However, it is good to point out that they are in their phase 3 clinical trials, and we should be looking at some positive results as they gather those from different organizations to validate some of the information that they provided. Another key point, as you can see here, this is actually from the UCLA website. So it's not like they're completely unsupported by institutions or financial institutions. However, one of the lead scientists that progresses this this company's test and results is from California, and I want to say she's part of UCLA. But something to keep in mind, and one of the positive things that will hopefully propel this stock moving forward. However, with that being said, there's an important thing to suggest here, in that as you see in this list that we have Edit, SYBX, TBIO, and NTLA, and the black sheep of the whole group is actually NWBO. That's actually kind of a strange combination of letters to talk all at the same time. But the things that I want to point out from the Edit, SYBX, TBIO, and NTLA is that they're all CRISPR technology companies. And we're going to talk a little bit more in detail about those particular companies right now. The first one that I wanted to bring up, and it was something that actually was propped up in my radar, I want to say about a month and a half ago, by several friends, and I do have these types of conversations with friends who ask me to look up some materials and what I think. I don't really make any major suggestions other than to buy or sell or anything like that. It's really just observing and looking at it from a lens of kind of more realistic despite that some of these stocks have gone up. Now, NTLA, again, another CRISPR type technology. I think they're based out of Massachusetts, actually, Intellia Therapeutics. But one of the key points that arose over the course of within the month, was that the stock went up it popped up to $165, and now it's reached this kind of plateau. And you're probably asking yourself, why did that happen? Well, when I was talking with one of my buddies, one of the things that I realized, and I actually did not read the whole article, but it did make me aware of actually what happened, of why that stock went up from this $137, $138, and I believe that was actually I believe that was actually on a Monday. I'm going to look that up real quick here. What was the date there? August 4th. Actually, let's go back in time a little bit. There we go. June 22nd. So we're going to go back to June 22nd. So yeah, it was a couple months, but I wanted to point out that June 22nd. So that was June 21st, 22nd was actually on a Monday. And the next piece of information that I'm actually going to show you guys is a very interesting kind of concept. And you often see these types of activities that could result in a stock price going up. And for people out there that might not be familiar, well, during that time frame, and this would have actually showed up in their financial reporting or part of their proxy votes. But if you look at this article, NTLA Therapeutics announces a closing of $690 million, a public offering of common stock, which they priced at $145. So again, you put two and two together. They had the price of the common shares at $145. They got issued on that specific day, which was the beginning of the week, Monday, Tuesday. And just on cue, like at the theater, if the theater production is really good, it went up nearly double. So with a lot of these CRISPR type companies, you're looking at, years down the road where they're still in their early phases of study before they get FDA approval. However, that does not necessarily mean that those companies are at the whim of the FDA approval, as we've seen from things like Moderna and Pfizer, where they bypassed a lot of those FDA requirements to get out to market. On top of that, there is the right to try bill that Trump passed when he was in office that enables people to take the drugs. And I don't know if any of insurance companies cover the cost for getting these treatments that haven't been FDA approved. However, those types of factors does contribute to the companies generating at least some revenue other than receiving income, or I should say funds from injection of money by issuing common stocks or warrants or options or any types of financial vehicle that enables companies to generate some funding to keep their operations going. So they're in a pretty good upward trend. They are in a very exotic technology. If you guys have been following anything from Cathie Wood, she's a big proponent on these CRISPR technology companies. And as we get a little bit further into this video, I want to talk a little bit more, or just touch on some of the other ones that ARK Invest actually owns, or at least some of their funds own some of these stocks. So something to keep in mind. So with this NTLA Therapeutics, we've removed the shroud of why that stock went up about 100% in the course of towards the end of June 21st, 22nd timeframe, and now we recognize where it is. So a positive sign for a lot of these CRISPR companies is that they have a lot of institutional support where they're looking for some long-term positive gains, and that could be a really good hedge for some of the stocks that might have some short-term risk. And obviously these types of things for me would be a lot of short-term risk. But if you do have NWBO and you want to hedge some of that risk that NWBO has, and as described, even in the course of a couple of months, NWO moves at such an accelerated rate, both up and down. And one of the differences that NWBO has from the CRISPR technologies is that it doesn't have the institutional buy-in that you would get from these more exotic, more kind of more popular biotech stocks that are out there. But they've been around for a long time, and they seem to be near their final stages of development. And it could go both ways. So it's something to keep in mind, but to keep your eye on. And if you want to hedge at least what I've been doing, is hedging against some of the volatility, or if you want to play that swing trade, although NWBO is a little bit difficult to predict because without any news or without any types of information, it pops up on, 30% on top of that has dropped down pretty significantly in just a couple of months. So something to keep in mind. Edit, not going to talk too much about it. Again, another CRISPR company, but one that Kathy Wood actually talks about quite a bit. And as you can see in the chart over there, just in 1 month, it's actually jumped up pretty significantly. So something to keep your eyeball on. But one of the things that I like to kind of just track along the way too is the market cap. So the explosive nature of some of these meme stocks and things like that, their market cap tends to be a little bit lower, so they have a lot more room to fill that gap. But also, some of the issues that we run into with some of the meme stocks themselves is that, let's face it, they also have that huge gap with a lot of different variables, like stocks being sold on the dark pools and whatever else, could affect the stock price, over a course of time in a pretty dramatic way, both up and down. So we obviously want to be on the climbing end of that, on those stories, and also because we're in the earnings season reports, we're actually in that process of seeing how these companies have been doing over the course of a couple of quarters. Also, keep in mind, I'm going to probably repeat this over and over again, but quarterly reports and forward-looking statements. So forward-looking statements are all a little bit speculative, and a lot of times companies are anticipating things are going to happen over the course of several days. However, for the most part, quarterly reports are looking back in time, so things have already transpired, and we're off to a new stage of development over the course of the next financial reporting season. One of the last videos that I talked about was SYBX, and again, this was part of the list of biotech firms that was brought up on several conversations with some friends. So I figured it'd be worth sharing. And this one has actually been on a slight downward trend over the course of a couple of months there, or a course of about month and a half. And one of the issues that this stock actually experienced, despite having supposedly a technology that works in its early stages with their FDA approvals. I think they're in phase 2 in one of their treatments. Is that more recently, I want to say down in April, they actually had some stock dilution. So obviously, if got to repeat it again, if you invest in this stock previously, a lot of these things would have probably popped up on some proxy votes to whether or not it was a good idea, or it was something that you agreed with as a shareholder to have the stocks get diluted from issuing more shares. So as you can see, over the course of just a couple months, it's been pretty volatile. And over some of the message board stuff, I saw some kind of negative sentiment going on over there. But I think if there are positive catalysts that could move this stock along the way, and especially since, like I was describing earlier, the market cap is pretty low. It's $160 million. Their revenue is going to be pretty low because, like I said, some of their cash equivalents might have come from the issuance of the shares, and I believe those shares are actually issued direct, other than whatever fees that they got from getting those shares out. But otherwise, this stock is going to hit some volatility, but there are some positive signs that this could actually could benefit in the long term. Part of it is that, like I said, they have strong institutional backing, but on top of that, because it's a new technology, you do have years out before we might see signs of very strong results. And something to keep in mind too, a lot of these smaller cap biotech firms are also partnered with larger firms, And that's really going to be a great segue to talk about the next stock to look at as we move forward, and to kind of further describe, these smaller cap biotech firms and what are some of the benefits of when they do partner with a larger organization. And that's TBIO, which is Translate Bio. And I also believe they are based in Massachusetts. So Massachusetts represent. All right. And Sanofi, which was one of their early partners for the CRISPR technology, made a public announcement to purchase them for, what was it, $3.2 billion. So it roughly comes out to about what the stock price is right now. So anywhere from $37 to $42 would be the stock price when it settles. And they have to go through all the approval processes to be able to do that. But again, one of the positive signs of a stock going up pretty significantly when they're in that process of getting bought out. Now, a key thing to point out. So a few months ago as well, they had negative results of one of their treatments, and it was an oral treatment that they issued. And the results came out that nothing happened. But the positive thing of the results, nobody died. So that's a good thing, right? When you have these phase studies and the results didn't yield what they exactly wanted, but one of actually the very positive things is that at least at a minimum, logically thinking, nobody got sick or anything like that. Just the results were nobody got sick. And over the course of the months, I'm gonna be honest, I haven't really been paying too much attention to TBIO. I do own several, so I'm quite happy about the results of the buyout. But it's gonna be, for me, it's gonna be a long hold. And if you did buy in when it dipped pretty significantly, and that was a few months ago, we'll see. We're gonna track that. No, it's much lower than that. It's dropped down to about $16. So if you weren't shaking in your boots and you had a lot of conviction to buy this stock, you'd be nearly double the value, or 100%, in just a few months. So good on you if you did, and I hope you picked it up when it did happen. But something to keep in mind, and something to keep a watch of, because of some of the activities that transpired that we saw just this previous week here. So there is a bonus topic that I want to talk about, and it's a stock one, but it's getting away from the biotech stuff that we just talked about at this particular moment. And it's one that I kind of just randomly picked up today and did a little bit of research. So the thing that I want to talk about is this company called Hydro Flask. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because my sister actually left her bottle here. And keep in mind, these bottles, despite having a very strong recognized brand, apparently, it's made in China. Now, I know what you're saying. You're probably thinking, right? Okay, despite all the stuff that I've been talking about, why am I talking about this particular thing? Well, first of all, I don't think Chinese products are bad. I think a lot of it's really, really good. One of the things I like to point out, and why I actually invest in a lot of Chinese companies, is that they're a manufacturing powerhouse. You go to any store, you go anywhere in the world, and basically almost every place has products that are made in China, whether they're high quality or low quality. But it makes no difference to me about some of the comments that people make about Chinese products being bad. One of the things that you have to take into consideration is that they build things to spec. So luckily for me, I've actually spent quite a bit of time in Ecuador, and I do have a collection of tools that I store at the house that I stay in. And one of the things that I want to point out is that I bought two different sets of ratchet tools. And I bought one that was a $10 set, and I bought one that was a $25, $30 set. And the difference between the $10 and the $30 set, both made in China, was massive, massive. And needless to say, the $10 set just died right away. But that $30 set being, nearly three times more than that $10 one, has quite a bit of durability. So when we start looking at the quality of products, and despite the fact that places private label their products from places like China, Mexico, Malaysia, Intel is manufactures a lot of their chips in Malaysia. It doesn't mean that their quality is bad. It's just they just build it in those places. And one of the things that I really want to point out is that Chinese-made goods, despite all the weird criticism, they can do things at scale, right? And then when you're buying products, or you're a business and you're private labeling products like Hydro Flask, you're obviously buying the brand, so you're paying a premium for the brand itself, right? It's like the same thing with the computers or computer parts, right? It's like this phone was not built in the U.S. This was built in China. And Foxconn is the manufacturer, which is a Taiwanese company, but they have manufacturing plants in China. So they obviously have the capacity to be able to build things to spec, but also to do it at a very large scale, is just kind of showing a testament of how well and how fast Chinese manufacturing can go. So I didn't know too much about Hydro Flask, but something to point out, and if you're like me and you like looking at labels and whatnot, so very, very doable. I want to say it's vacuum sealed stainless steel, whatever grade it is, to give it that nice polish and that quality. And interesting enough, the name of the company is the umbrella company is Helen of Troy. So kind of an interesting thing. But one of the interesting things that I didn't know was that this is a multi-billion-dollar company, or close to $2 billion company with a stock price of $226. And if you guys are a little bit afraid about maybe doing some of the biotech stuff, this might be something worth looking at. They have a PE ratio of 22, so they trade at 22 times their earnings. I mean, not the most attractive price, but they make money, and that's always a positive sign. And I don't know, just something to think about. But looks like they have some very interesting movement as far as the stock price goes, and based on this trend, and I'm just making this decision now, or analyzing this because I just pulled this up earlier. It looks like they pretty much moved during earnings season. So if you want to play that game with Helen of Troy or Hydro Flask, that might be something to consider. However, the share price itself is a little bit higher than some of the other stocks that we do talk about, but that in itself does not prevent someone from buying stocks. Remember, if a stock goes up 10% and you got 10 stocks that are $10, that's $100, and if it goes up 10% to $11, right, you made $110. Or you bought one stock and it goes up 10%, and it goes up 10% to $110, you made the same amount. So whether you have 10 stocks, obviously it psychologically it looks more attractive, right? If you're buying a stock that's lower and then it shoots up like a rocket to the moon. But in realistic terms, the stock price itself is not the bearing the stock price going up or down, or whether it's good or bad. It's just, it all depends on how many shares are out in circulation, and then on top of that, what's the company doing and whatnot. So, and that actually concludes the video, and I hope you enjoyed that. That's moving forward, I'm going to continue improving the quality of the channel and try to get the content as timely as possible. Like I said, I'm shooting for a Friday to Sunday time frame so that people can prepare for Monday. I originally had the concept in my head that I was actually going to post, or at least publish the videos Monday morning, but I think it's more important to get this type of information out, especially since people are working from home or they are being active about doing trading and things like that. And it's something that I consistently do. Obviously, making these videos does add a little bit of time to get things produced and things like that. But this is just some of the activity that I do during the course of the day. It does occupy a portion of the morning that I have throughout the course of the week, so that you guys can better see how I look at things, and when I look at specific time frames to buy, or if I look, or if I'm in the situation to sell, or whatever it is. But hopefully this is helpful to you guys. Like and subscribe. All that weird algorithm stuff that YouTube likes. And that's all I got. And see you guys next week. And be looking out for the videos when they post. And I'll be posting more kind of side videos about some of the activities that I do outside of stocks. If you guys like that, it seems like the pull-up stuff people like. So I might be posting more of those exercise videos, especially since I gained about 15 pounds since I was going back and forth to Ecuador. So keep up to date. Talk to you guys soon, and thank you very much.